Man, I want to welcome you back to Dream Chasers Radio. I am Yaya Diamond. I'm your host. And thank you again so much for tuning in. We have such great people here, and the next person is an author. But before we get with her, I wanted to thank you again. You know that you can reach us every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have Shout Out Saturday going on now, and that's going really, really good. I am so impressed with the people that are coming on that show and the music and the caliber of just all the people that are applying to be on that Shout Out Saturday. If you want to do that, all you have to do is contact me at dreamchasersradio@gmail.com. Also, we have our spiritual guidance day, which is Sundays at 8 p.m. every Sunday with Quenisha Lemon. I want to thank the next guest. Not only is she a guest, but she is a doctor. So give her props because I know what it takes to get that doctor before your name. I want to welcome Dr. Lucy Papillon. Tell me about yourself, and I know you're an author, so tell me about your book and everything. I mean, when did you decide to write the book?
I was sitting at a conference, and a woman next to me said, "Well, have you ever had any harassment of any kind?" And I said, "You know what? I'll have to tell you a story about that." And then she said, "You need to deal with that not deal with it because I've dealt with it, but you need to speak about it, because other people have had different kinds of experiences, but so many people have had experiences with sexual harassment and sexual abuse and all that. And so it was really at a conference where somebody, kind of urged me to do it. And then I started thinking about all the times I've had sexual experiences, at least harassment, and I was mortified of how many there were. So that's why I put my own experience in the book.
And the book is called How Dare You? Insidious Ways Women Are Mistreated. Subtitle, The Me Too Movement in Memoir, Experiences of Others, How to Heal. I truly understand where you're coming from because, and I have to be kind of comical with it too, because if you're hot, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, so but it is bad because you don't think that way. You're meeting people, you're doing your job, you're doing everything you can to get ahead, to make a living, just like anybody else in this world. And all of a sudden, you're treated like a piece of meat, And
Right.
it must have been difficult. Was it difficult to write this, and why?
Oh, you know what? It was very difficult, but part of the difficulty was that I didn't realize that it started as a child. Because I was a minister's daughter, so I was exposed to lots and lots of ministers. It was a big city, and every one of those ministers would hug me too tight, say awful things in my ear, or push their pelvis on me. I hope that's okay to say, but they were really awful, and I didn't even realize how long I'd been experiencing it and how much I'd been dealing with it. I just thought it was kind of like, well, that's what you do. You just let them do it.
Wow.
Yeah, no. And then when I guess the experience that I talked to that woman at the conference about is the most powerful, and not in the sense that he, well, there's two of them, and one of them was at the conference. The other one, I, of course, would have remembered and horrified by, but the one from the conference was that I went to I wanted to get into graduate school, the Ph.D. program, and I had never made a B in my life. I had never, ever. And I had summa cum laude as a junior. And, that's a high honor if you're doing well in school. And so there was nothing in my resume or whatever in my application that would imply of not, so I almost knew I was going to, get in some school. So I put this letter in a application, and this man said, not the man, a letter actually said, you are not, uh, you're not going to be in this school. You're rejected. And I was crying, and I walked away, and my head down, and of course, a man, not a woman, came up to me and said, "No, turn around and go right back in there and say, how come with all my credentials I am not being accepted at this university?" And
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh, I can't do that." And he said, "Turn around, go in there and ask him." So I went in there to the director and I said, "Could you just please tell me how come I wasn't accepted?" And he said, "Oh, the committee, all of us," they were all men, "all of us on the committee said, oh, she's gotten everything on a silver platter because she's beautiful and sexy and this and we're not gonna condone that, or we're not gonna forward that thinking or accept her because she's always been accepted too easily." I started bawling. I couldn't help it. I was like,
Oh
I
my
have for
gosh.
I have worked for every single thing I have ever gotten. I've never ever gotten anything for free or easily. And he looked very embarrassed and he went, "Oh my gosh." It was just, it was such a um, blow to me to have anybody even think that. But also, I realized that it was something men just think that all women, get in because
Wow.
of what they wear,
Hmm.
sexy or this or that, which is, of course, not true. But so anyway, I was accepted and he became a friend of mine and all that stuff. But uh, if you don't
Wow.
mind, let me just tell you the other one why I'm thinking. It's not why I'm thinking about it, but while we're
Yeah.
on this. Okay, I was um, I was already a psychologist, and I would go to this church, which is up north in California, because that's where I'm from in Southern California. So, but I went up to Northern every time I could because there was this wonderful church, wonderful minister, and I love the music, the ministry, the minister, and just in terms of what he's talked about, and it was very spiritual. So I went in, and I would always say to him, that was really wonderful. I just got so much out of it in the whole service.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I went down there and into the pulpit, front of the church, and I said, um, "I really loved that." And he said, "Would you like to have dinner sometime?" I said, "Well, sure." And he said, "How about tonight?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm still in town. I could do that." So he said, "Well, just, come to my hotel and call me when you get there." So I called him and he said, "No, just come on up to my room and then we'll go eat," which was a huge mistake, but I still had such an innocence. So I went up there and I knocked on the door. He came to the door with nothing on except a silk bathrobe
Oh my
that was like,
gosh.
I was like, and then he pulled me in and he said, "Sit in my lap." I said, "No." And he said, "Come on, sit in my lap." I said, "No." And I just inched toward the door, ran out, and my heart was beating really fast. Uh, just, that was just
Oh my
awful.
gosh.
So, needless to say, I decided not to go to that church anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, wow. Well, now, I mean, as the experiences that we both have are pretty cool in terms of teaching other people what not to do. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what not to do. Don't go
That's
up to a hotel, no matter
right.
who it is,
Right.
you know. I
You
had,
think you could trust a minister,
right.
you know, and they want it, and Harvey Weinstein, they want the job, they want him to do
Mm,
produce them, and so I mean, you think they're on the up and up because after all they got in this position, but oh,
no. No.
yeah,
And I've had that experience, not like that, but I've had the hit on experience of, hey, baby, come here. I've had the experience of, I'm a musician. So they bring me in, they said, you know what? If you do something for me, then I can make you a star. And I'm like, what? I was like, what? 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 Wait, what? I mean, I don't, no. no. And I had to walk out. And I was like, that's the end of that contract or agreement or whatever that was. I did have someone on the opposite end. It was a woman. It wasn't sexual harassment, but it was the guy brought me in to do an interview or some kind of an audition. Nice
Uh-huh.
gentleman, nice guy. He wasn't hitting on me or anything, just casting agency or whatever. And I got there, and the guys there were hitting on me, but they were hitting on me subtly. When I got inside, the people looked at me and they said, "I'm so sorry. You're too ethnic looking for this job."
Oh, oh,
Yeah. And so I've had it both ways. I've
you
had,
sure have.
"You're too
Yeah.
ethnic looking," and, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Your skin, you're just beautiful. Can you come over here? I'll do you some. You do something for me. I'll do something for you." I've had that.
Yep.
So on the both ends, but it's like that one thing really hurt me. And it was many, many, many years ago, and that's what put me into depression for 8 years. And then I started this podcast to come out of depression.
Praise
So
God.
yeah, because
Okay.
I was confused. It was like one end of the spectrum, I'm sexy, I'm desirable, but I don't want to be that kind of person that does that to get ahead, you know? And on the
Mm-hmm.
other end of the spectrum, I'm ugly, I'm too ethnic looking, I'm too dark, too black, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was totally depressed. Where do you fit in? You know? So the Me Too movement, I think, confuses some people too. It's like on one end you're beautiful and on the other end you're not, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so
Yeah.
it makes people go into a deep depression. It really does. It really does. And being a psychologist, I mean, does that make you vulnerable in any way with your patients?
No, in fact, what's happened is that I've had more people, especially women,
Uh
of
huh.
course, all women, come in and, I'll look at them and I'll say, "Have you been sexually abused?" And I'll say, "Well, how did you know?" And I'll say, I don't know. It was just an intuitive sense. But, it's like I know when you've had it, you know it from someone else.
Mm.
And, so it makes me an even better psychologist because I remember though when I first started being a psychologist years ago, and I hadn't gotten my Ph.D. yet. I was still interning, and this man came in one day and he sat down and he said, um, "I can't have therapy here because you're too beautiful."
Oh my gosh.
I just said, "Oh well, what do you say?" Say, "Well, okay," but I wasn't going to say I'm sorry, but I
Right.
was. But,
Well, well, sexual abuse is very bad. I mean, I've been molested and raped before the age of 14, and it was really hard for me to really kind of come out of it. But understanding that I was in high school, I had peer counseling, and so for the first year, they teach you about counseling,
oh,
and
good.
it was really good back. They don't have that now, but we had 2 periods. I had 2 periods for my from 10th grade to 12th grade where I counseled other kids going through
Hmm.
everything. I mean, literally everything. This is before they put DCF into those offices, and now the kids don't talk. But we used to counsel each other. I think that
Oh,
helped me get past the the rape. It helped me get past the molestation because I
did
understood
your
it wasn't me. It wasn't my
did your
fault.
parents know? Did your parents?
My mom doesn't know to this day. If she heard today, then she knows about the molestation, but not the rape.
Oh,
But the rape was kind of like before they came out with the term date rape. That's what that
uh,
was.
oh, I see.
Yeah, it was more like it wasn't consensual. I kind of froze when it was happening. Like I couldn't believe it was
Mm.
happening, and then all of a sudden it was done.
Oh God. I'm
And it was like
that's
I know
you.
I just never wanted to see that person again. But I remember going through the counseling sessions with people that had that happen to them. And I remember me telling them, it's not you, it's the psychology of that person is just evil and it's
Mm-hmm.
not your fault,
Right.
and I was able to pull myself out because of that year of counseling that I had in ninth grade. And then I was, counseling other people. I was able to bring myself out of that. But not everybody has that, especially now,
That's right.
so yeah,
Don't.
so
Yeah.
sexual
And
assault is terrible. I mean, is it hard for you to come up with examples? I doubt it. I really do doubt it's hard for you to
no,
come up with
no.
examples. I really do.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. That's
Uh,
terrible.
just, it's just so awful that that so many women are exposed to that still. But I can't just say women. There's a man that just started coming to me, and he was raped
Mm.
or assaulted sexually by all of his father's friends. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh, no.
I mean, really. I mean, and you know what he did? He just went home and he turned down all the shades and he sat in the dark for over a year, ate and just sat there. He didn't do anything. He didn't talk to his friends. Thank God he started coming out just recently. And thank God he came to therapy. Because, therapy is the only way to get past this.
Oh,
You
definitely.
Yeah, you can't just ignore it. You
Mm-mm.
can't just deny it. You can't just sit there and think it's going to go away.
What?
Uh-uh.
Why don't they talk about it though? I mean, it's like, it is sad, but why don't you say something? Why didn't I say something? I think maybe, and then now let me go internally. I think because I was a counselor at school, I didn't need to say anything to anybody. I kind of worked my way through it myself,
Right.
understanding the situation, going through everything I was taught to do. But most people aren't taught this. What and why don't they say something?
I think that's a great question because it's really, for some, it's embarrassment. For some, it's like, oh, I can just play like it didn't happen. I'm not going to make it bigger by talking about it. Things like that, or people are going to say it's my fault, and all those kinds of things.
Mm.
Like what were you wearing that day? Or how did you lure him on?
Oh
Or
my gosh.
uh, I just hate it that they feel like it's there to blame somehow. So,
Yeah,
like you said, it's not your fault, but
it's not.
some don't realize that.
Yeah, no. When I was molested at 11, I remember the situation. My mom had just bought me Cabbage Patch nightgown. It was purple. It was cute. It had a little Cabbage Patch face on it. I loved it. It was like Cabbage Patch dolls were the big thing.
Right,
And I
right.
went to take a shower, and my mom was in the room, and she had the door closed, so she was in the room getting whatever she was doing, and I had just finished taking the shower. I had, did all, brush my teeth, whatever, and went to bed. I woke up screaming,
Oh no.
and then I heard somebody run. After I started screaming, they ran, and it was my mom's boyfriend. He sat down on the couch. He was panting, and I was bleeding everywhere.
I imagine.
And
Oh God.
I went to my mom, and I told my mom, and she locked me in the room. And the next thing you know, you hear a bunch of screaming from a guy. Then you hear the door slam, and then my mom comes in the room and she says, "We're leaving."
Yeah, she did believe you.
Yeah,
I mean, she had to with all that blood and
yeah.
everything.
And so, and so that was pretty much, how do you say to an 11-year-old girl, "Oh, it must have been what you were wearing"?
Yeah.
You see
Did
where I'm
you
coming
throw away
from?
that Cabbage Patch
I
nightgown?
know, right? Come on. It was purple. It was the cutest
I
thing
mean, excuse
ever.
me. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. What? And when I was 14, I was in jeans and a sweatshirt. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So neither time I was wearing anything provocative. So men, they go to the next thing, the next level of what they're thinking. Well, maybe it was what you were wearing. Well, maybe it's what you think I was wearing.
Uh-huh. Right.
But it wasn't what so I mean, what, it's terrifying. Okay, this is terrifying because to me, like I said, I was able to work it out and talk about it. But what is a silence breaker in your book? Talk about some of these things that people can actually do to break the silence.
Well, I had a woman, this is an experience that I have in my book, and it was the worst one. And this woman was pregnant, and she had, and she got cancer. So she was in the hospital, pregnant, having a chemo treatment. Her husband walked in and raped her. I mean, there's nothing you can call it but rape. He was raping her, and she said, and she, of course, screamed and said, "Stop it, stop it." And he said to her, "No, I have to have it every day in order to work." Well, you know, in her case, of course, she divorced him and had the little boy, you know, by herself, which was great because now she, you know, is raising that little child. But she still has to have him talk to the boy because it's his son, and he can't stand the man, and of course she can't. So, you know, it's all about being willing. The word willing, being willing to come in and talk about that, the most horrible experience in her life, to be willing to do whatever she can, you know, trying to, well, she took him to court and got, you know, what do you call that? Extended, where they can't see each other.
Oh, I don't know. Oh gosh, where
We're both talking on the
yeah, I
word.
know, right?
But anyway, it's
Restriction or
where
something
she
like
can't
that.
see, he can't see her. So,
Yeah, yeah, I know
so
what you're talking about. I just can't remember
yeah.
what it's called.
Yeah, and the other thing she did was move far away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't live in the same state as she does now. So, you know, they do all kinds of things to try to heal or to try to, you know, get out of the situation, move, or some of them, though, unfortunately, rationalize. It wasn't that bad.
Oh my gosh.
He just did it once. He won't do it again. You know, those kinds of things.
Right.
So some stay, you know, like they've been sexually abused, emotionally abused. And some of them have come in to me and said, "I don't understand why I stayed so long looking back."
Right.
But when we're in it, you know, it's like I wrote a book before this one, and it was called "When Hope Can Kill: Reclaiming Your Soul in a Romantic Relationship." And I realized that I was doing the same thing. He was emotionally abusing me. He was pushing me down and trying to, you know, sexually abuse me. And I kept thinking, "Oh, it won't happen again. I hope it doesn't happen again. I really hope he doesn't do that tonight." It's the same thing as if they're drinking. You know, "I hope he doesn't drink tonight." Well, he's been drinking for 20 years. What do you think? You know, so I found a definition of hope that was so powerful. It's called, and I had to go to a huge library and get in one of those big dictionaries, and I looked down and I finally found it. Postponed disappointment.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
You just keep hoping. So I never use that word. I always say, I trust you'll be okay on this trip, or I trust this, but I never say I hope.
Right.
Because it's so passive.
It is. It definitely is. Wow, doctor. I mean, we could be here literally for hours talking about this because this is a very touchy subject, but your book deals with a lot. And I really, really, you know, tell people, where can they get your book?
They can get my book at Amazon or Barnes and Noble, places like that where you can always get online books. Go to my website, you can get it off of that. You can see the other books I've written. You can see my practice and what I do and use spirituality, things like that.
Wow. We're Dr. Papillon. Thank you again so much for being on the show. You guys know the drill. All you have to do is go into the description box below the interview, grab and paste, or click if the highlight, if it's highlighted, if the link is highlighted, grab that link, go ahead and go to that page and look it up. What would be your suggestion? Because the one thing that I know for a fact is the most dangerous moment of any abusive relationship is when the person that is the abused decides to leave.
That's right. That's right.
What do you suggest that person? What do you say to them?
I say to them, do it very slowly. Pack your bag, but you don't have it you have it in your trunk of your car. You remember everything about what you need, and then you leave when he's at work. You leave when he's on a trip. You leave at a time he's not there,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you will be very sorry.
Yeah.
Because he's dangerous, and he'll get more dangerous if you try to leave. Don't change your number, or block his number. All those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be careful, very careful.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, when we left, there was nobody to contest us leaving. We just left. And I
Yeah,
think that's a big deal. You got to leave when no one's around. Um,
absolutely.
I had a friend of mine who was abused in a relationship, and the way
Mm-hmm.
she left was she left her main clothes. She restructured her closet with all the things she wasn't taking. And all the things that she did take, she left it at her friend's house. When he
Right.
went to work, she left. So when he came home, he thought, oh, she's out. She's at the store or something.
Yeah.
He didn't think that she wasn't there because she left everything that she wasn't taking in a specific spot that looked like she hadn't gone anywhere.
That's a really, really good idea too. Is to
Mm-hmm.
just have it at the front of the closet, and
Right.
looks like everything's fine.
Yep. And so when they get
But
home, there's no suspicion that you
mm-mm.
left.
And you can go far away by the
Further
time
away.
you
Yeah. You can get
yeah,
further away. You have more time to get further away.
right. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it's sad, but it's true. Dr. Papillon, thank you again so much. It's been one of those episodes that took me back a little bit, but it
Yeah.
also takes me forward to be thankful to be with a person I share my life with that doesn't do all the things that I know he could do,
Mm-hmm.
but
That's because
he
he's very respectful of you.
very,
Wonderful.
very, very, and so I'm very thankful for the life I have now, um, and for the person I found. I told myself, you're probably gonna go, oh my gosh, but I told myself if I ever had a man that did that to me, he better not fall asleep because I'm not gonna take that anymore.
That's right.
Because,
Yep.
you fall asleep
This
around
has
me,
open.
oh, it's over. It's over.
Yep.
You might find it down the block somewhere.
Mhm.
So,
You've been great. You've been so great. Thank you so
oh,
much. I
thank
appreciate it.
you, Dr. Papillon. Again, it's such a touchy subject, but we have to face it. And again, you guys, if you need any assistance, are you available to talk over the phone with people? Are you
Yes, I
available?
do that all the time. I have some patients in Germany that I talk to. So
Awesome.
sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
So I
I
will
call
definitely put your website in the browser in the description box below. If
right.
Look, women, if you have an issue, you need someone to talk to. It's a confidentiality thing. It's not going any
Oh,
further than her records, and it won't go any further with me either, because I too am a counselor as well as her, because we've been doing it so long. I've been doing it since high school, you know,
yeah.
and so it stays with us. It stays with her. Talk. break the silence. Figure out what you're going to do. Definitely.
Did you know there's a Time magazine and it was the front cover for People of the Year? It was 12 women they call the Silence Breakers. And that's a perfect title, Silence Breakers.
Wow.
It was Time magazine's front cover about 2 years ago.
Wow.
All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thank you guys so much for listening. And don't forget, you guys, don't follow the status quo. Dare to be different. Dare to be different. All right.
All right.
I dare to be different. 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 I dare.